Great. On this Tuesday, the day the government is projected to shut down, U.S. government. Right now, poly market showing 82% chance that we will see a government shutdown by tomorrow morning. And oh, look at this price down right now. Bearish or bullish for Bitcoin? That's the question. I have the bears in the background. The bears in the background are to remind you that right here in the near term, I have kind of that little bit in the near term. Wait, hold on. Let's get this straight and from the very beginning. I have the bears in the background right now. Don't let that confuse you. I am very bullish going into the future. We have in the title over here, there are a lot of fears about inflation. Today's JOLTS numbers, they go ahead and lock in the October Fed cut because the odds are that Friday's non-farm payroll are not going to be released. And therefore, today's JOLTS numbers, they go ahead and they lock in the expectations of a cut into October meeting. Just jump forward into October. If you go to compare, and you can see the difference between today and yesterday. Yesterday, there was a 10% chance that there would be a pause. Today, it's down to 3%. And the likelihood is that we're going to have no further data coming into the meeting. When I say no further data, what are you talking about? Government shut down. I mean, there's still a possibility it won't. It doesn't seem that that is the expectation. That's not the expectation. Question is, how long will that shutdown last? You go ahead and you can see the previous shutdowns, and the longest one over here was obviously during 35 days during the previous Trump administration. We could be in for something like that once again. And then expectations are about 70% that it won't be longer than 10 to 14 days. I suppose that those expectations are just being set off of previous occurrences. And what does that mean? And how are the markets going to respond? And how is Bitcoin going to respond? And it seems to me that markets potentially here just need a reason to kind of take a breath. Is the Chinese entering their holiday a reason for gold to take a breather over here? It's going to be interesting to see two things right now, whether or not there is that desired manipulation now that agent bid is not there, and or is it just simply a reason for some just healthy consolidation to occur right now? Or by the way, Bitcoin bull runs is currently in the market. This trade is almost a percent against it. Tight stop loss at 2%, and even like a very poor win percentage at 20%. A very substantially favorable risk to reward per trade. But NVIDIA entered the market today, and NVIDIA, I mean, it looks bullish so much as that I had a chart up of NVIDIA 1 second ago. Let me just pull it up over here. And NVIDIA looks like after this consolidation here has been able to break out. And, you know, would I be buying NVIDIA here? Absolutely not. There's no way. Are we buying NVIDIA here? Yes. And the trade got a little bit of oomph into it. So that's nice to see a trade with a tight stop loss to fall into favor right away. We have the spot. Look at this. We were not even 2 weeks ago, 100% into cash. Look how quick and nimble CTM is. And even more importantly, against my own personal like discretionary outlook. At that point in time, I highly cautious by this time in September, and in September, we were trading lower than we were mid-August. We're trading higher, and you could see that Tesla out of nowhere taking a nice position, 17% into profit. My expectations were any positions we took between now and the end of September would be like chopped out. And I'm still highly cautious into the end of October, right? Now, we have a couple of things in the headline, and, you know, Fed cutting again in September, that's going to reignite these concerns that inflation is going to come ahead and become a problem. My own opinion is if they're able to run it hot, and I think that they are going to run it hot, I believe that we're going to see at some point in the future, 3, 4, 5, 6, so at some point in the future, the whole narrative has become reacceleration. That's what it's going to be. Are we there right now? No, we're towards this unfavorable, cautious. A lot of people worry about inflation. Maybe they should be worried more about deflation, really, and deflationary forces into 2026. Eventually, if they're able to run it hot, inflation becomes a concern. I think it's way out into the future, and it's not a concern right now. Another concern right now is growth scare, right? GDP is projected right here in third quarter at 3.8%. We're not seeing that right now, but earnings is right around the block. And it's, did you see Trump did he wanted to change earnings? This guy's crazy. I mean, maybe start with daylight savings time, leave earnings alone. Anyway, we have earnings, and it's extremely important. And quarterly seems very like good way for people to assess what's going on with the markets, with companies that are invested in. Anything longer than that seems a little crazy to me. And we're going to be watching earnings. I'm not concerned right now about inflation. I'm not concerned about a growth scare. Is these tariffs eating into profits? Feeling it somewhere. It's not yet being passed on to the consumer. What I'm worried about is if you were to see, and I don't think it's going to happen, and I'm watching specifically Microsoft, and I'm watching specifically if someone has some data showing it's passed on to the consumer, I would love to see it, but obviously we know that's not the case. I'm worried about if at any point in time Microsoft or Meta pull back on their capex spending. If all of a sudden there is no more fuel going into the AI movement, that would be a concern. The odds of that happening, I would put extremely, extremely low, single digits. I don't, but I'm watching it. And if that were to happen, that's going to cause a big market correction. And I want to be ahead of it. What I do foresee happening, though, is Fed cutting, right? That's going to go ahead, and that's helping monetary policy come more in line with fiscal dominance. And for sure, or I shouldn't say for sure, I believe this is going to lead to a re-acceleration of growth. Are we going to see more jobs and more hiring? Likely not. Are we going to continue to see more layoffs? Likely. Are we going to continue to see a greater divide between the top 20% and the bottom 20%? Absolutely. Is the economy and the people within both of those segments the markets? No, it's not. What else could cause some type of concern here into the view and the way? What I do see is that actually the tariffs are eating into margins ever so slightly. I think that they are causing deflationary forces. The housing market, I believe, a year from now is going to be in much worse. The housing market is in way worse shape than it was 12 months ago. And the way that I'm gauging that is by the amount of supply on the market. Not only that, the amount of future supply that's going to come onto the market in the next 12 months, because more and more people are at that stage of life where they need to dip into their asset in order to go on to that next stage of life. I'm seeing it everywhere around. This is the view that we want to give in. Fed is cutting. That's going to help, I do believe, loosening monetary policy, help the forces at play. Those forces are not talked about enough. Those forces are the passive bid and the buybacks, right? If you were to see in this earnings season, all of a sudden Apple to be like, yeah, we're cutting our buy, that would be tremendously, tremendously worrisome. Do we think that any of these forces in play are about to take a turn? No. Will they in the future? For sure. Right now, we have to be forward looking. We have to be able to assess currently where we are and then take it to where we think we're going. A lot of people believe that in the next, near term, by the end of the year, we're about to see a peak in Bitcoin, a cycle top. Whether or not that cycle top includes a euphoric move up, as many believed would happen not so long ago, probably a lot of them are thinking, well, now it's probably going to end with a whimper, and we're setting up for a 2026 bear market. If I checked on Polymarket, the expectations of a recession into 2026 be interesting to see. Last I saw, it was pretty high. It was like at 30%. If someone could check, I would love to see right now what it is. That would be great. Buying tops is while yet just works back tested and forward tested. Buying tops. Right? Hold on one second. Just wanted to check out where we are. Guys, expectations are, as far as, I'll come back to Bitcoin in 1 second, and then we'll talk about Ethereum, we'll talk about gold, Robert, we'll talk about it all. What I want to do is check in really quick though, and just talk about expectations, not as far as how long a projected shutdown would last, which again, 70% chance it lasts somewhere between 10 to 14 days. The longest one has been 35 days. That was under Trump. Trump causes a lot of polarization, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's another long one. And jumping in, and just wanted to see past shut. Look, the October 1990, I think that like that's the first one. Take that out of the equation because there was a lot more uncertainty. Not dissimilar from what happened with the tariffs in April, Liberation Day, I was going to say. Liberated from what? I have no idea. But you saw great uncertainty as that like whole situation was entering into the markets. A lot of that occurring in 1990 when the government first shuts down. Now it's like, well, there's, well, there hasn't been one in a minute. Was the last one. I would like to see if anyone knows that, like, under which party do we see, as far as which party having the presidency, do we see more shutdowns? That would be interesting to see. So jumping back though, and you don't think so? Well, 1990 was a Republican president, right? I'm not sure 1995 was George Bush Jr. still in the presidency. We know that 2018 was a Republican president, right? 95, someone let me know. Did we have 45% recession in 2026? That is, wow. That is very high. Thank you, Lee, for posting that. Who was president in 1995? Someone please let me know. 2013, we have a Democratic president. So it leans towards what was happening in 1995. Bill Clinton. So I would say it's 50-50 then, right? 50-50 as far as, where do I get back to that? What slide was I on? I'm looking for it. I don't know. It's gone. And it's gone. So 50-50, I would say, between where did I have that? Oh man. Oh, I was looking at these dates over here. So we have 2 Democrats, 3 Democrats, and 3 Republicans, 50-50, and that just shows how divided the United States of America is, almost down towards, it's been that close, right? For at least for as far as I remember. More what I was getting into, expectations into that cut. As far as equity markets, this is Bitcoin related. People are asking what's going to happen to Bitcoin. I think, and that like, even though I have the bears up back here, it should be the bears and the bulls colliding and fighting, because, well, this is a great session. We got 2 thumbs down. This is a rare occurrence here. Anyone else want to go ahead and hit the button? Go ahead and hit it. We'll see you later. That's all good. Love to see it, actually. Love to see the filtering out of who belongs here and who doesn't. May the algorithm no longer allow CTM to appear in your feed. Expectations, I would think, for S&P 500, again, get rid of the one anomaly, is that right into the shutdown, there's a bit of uncertainty, which is quickly at that point then alleviated, and the markets are just going to be like, okay, the government shut down, but clearly they're going to be reopening soon. Let's get back to business and what's afoot. Now, the one thing is that this is occurring at a particular point in time where we are looking at what is post-election year, just unfavorable seasonalities. I feel like everything but Bitcoin is extended. I feel like I would not be surprised if Bitcoin, let me just pull up a chart of Bitcoin over here and just jump over. And if Bitcoin is able to make that breakout, there's a good chance that Bitcoin is going to be playing catch up across the board. I think everyone here can envision a situation where you see gold kind of just chill out a little bit. Maybe even not chill out. Maybe there's a bit of a mean reversion. Same thing with silver. No, I don't think anyone would be surprised to see any of that in play. I would not be surprised to see if Bitcoin is able to make the breakout at that particular point in time, where everyone is going from like, I'm disinterested right now in Bitcoin, and I got gold and silver eyes over here. And then we see Bitcoin make a move. As far as equity markets, I expect a little bit of a hiccup right now as we move in towards what it looks like it's going to be a shutdown of the government. I'm really interested in that 45% recession call. That seems that I wonder if the feed is that everyone's feeds with all the doom that goes on is a little bit manipulated. Once we return to the narrative being what it's going to be in the reacceleration, then I am a lot more curious to see what those odds are. I was looking around and I see that a lot of people are moving out their expectations of Bitcoin and when Bitcoin tops, and you see that moving out into 2026 as we predicted. Not everyone is there though. There are a lot of 4-year cycle purists who believe that we're about to see the top in October, and then others being a little bit more rational, saying, okay, seasonalities, they're very favorable, especially in this space into the end of the year. It's not just this sector. And by the way, equities too, as we move past October, expectations are that we close strong. I would be surprised if that's not happening. And it will have a very clear indication if we're not. Fed begins their rate cut cycle, and 3 months out, that's when there's the glaring difference between what is happening. Let me go ahead and just share that with you really quick, and I'm looking for it. I'm going to find it. I pause because I don't see it. There we go. Look 3 months out, depending on what they're cutting into, and you could see 3 months out into normalization, market's up 4%. If they're cutting into a recession 3 months out, they're down 14%. Massive, massive difference. Obviously, this is just on average. Nevertheless, you could see if you look above at the top tables over there, the difference on, I guess, the one outlier, 1990, seeing a 20%. I guess not. You have 2001 as well, both of those. But I would, those are two outliers. When you look at data, I think you got to remove the anomalies. And then I guess you have two above where you have only the top two into recessions as normalization panic. I regress. And I think 3 months out is a really good indication of what we're looking at. So far, that first month out, when you're cutting into anything, regardless, you normally see markets off a little bit. We're not seeing that as we come into the end of the month. Now, we're not 1 month out from the cut, but we're getting close. Markets up heavily. When was the date of that cut? I have to go back over here, and it was the 17th of September. 17th of September. I'm going to go down to a 2-week period over here. Right, so we got 17th of September right here. We are unchanged right now, slightly positive, and I think that's a good barometer to check in as we move towards the middle of October. See where equity markets are. Are they showing that, like, are they coming off a couple of percent? Is that indicative of a recession? You could see 1 month out into a recession, averages -2%, or are they closer to unchanged? That would be the first marker we have. The second marker will be into the end of the year, 3 months later. I think 3 months later is a little bit of a better barometer for what's taking place. And if for whatever reason markets were not responding well to the cuts and to seasonalities into the end of the year, that might be an opportunity to get a little bit change of expectations and posture. Let's jump over. Question was, what is going on with Ethereum? And I guess we're looking here at the April lows over here. And off of the April lows, interesting to see that both Bitcoin and tech have been neck and neck over here. It looks like tech is more smooth. Bitcoin, obviously, that more volatility being shown. But both of them off of that barometer are showing pretty strong performance. That's a good barometer. Another good barometer is obviously the election, right? Since the election, Bitcoin outperforming. Some people look at since January. I I don't think that is anything special except being a calendar year, specifically and especially after Bitcoin had just made a 50% correction up. You could look at since the last cycle high, this one should give gold an opportunity here to be winning. And there it is off of the previous cycle high. You could see here so far gold, the best performer. That's a massively good looking chart over there. And gold here continues its spectacular run. We called it a super cycle in real time. It has been and is, I think everyone now believes. Back then, people didn't believe it was even going to break out. Similar situation right now for silver potentially here, getting ready to break out of its massive into discovery out of a massive similar pattern, that cup and handle, that gigantic cup and handle. People were looking at platinum. I mean, look at this nice consolidation, clean breakout. Ever since the breakout, it's held the last bit of resistance, flipped into support. It looks extended to me. Do I think that the run of the metals is close to coming to an end? Not even close. Do I think that they are extended at this particular point in time? I do, but if silver makes the breakout, I would not look to fade that. I would think that we see very clearly a situation where gold has been overbought just for many months. Is it you know is it unrealistic to think that silver could and will do the same thing? I don't think so. Silver just approaching overbought levels. So again, I would not be surprised if silver makes that breakout into discovery, if it begins a beautiful run. I'm looking at gold over here. Its breakout occurred over here, right? We started tracking it in March 2023, and it really took some time afterwards to get started. Just trying to look for a little bit of comparison. Uranium too. I feel like everything here overextended, which is why a lot of people are bringing their eyes to them. Don't think that's the time to be looking at them. Actually, I think this is the time for Bitcoin. If you were to see it break out just from a simple discretionary CTM 1.0 trend line, at that point in time, I think that it would have an opportunity to run. If equity markets feel the initial pinch of a government shutdown, again, government shutdown, people, and then what seems to happen very quickly is they realize, okay, that's not what to focus in on. What we need to focus in on more along the lines of what's taking place here with the macro, what's going on with the upcoming earnings, why is NVIDIA continuing here to shoot the moon, and whether or not this is a bubble. Is a much different bubble than in 2021, where people didn't know how to value the future of the internet, compared to today, where earnings are very real and very substantial. Yeah. So is it possible that gold continues to defy gravity, right? in my opinion, we're seeing a slow motion revaluation of gold. Um, if someone wanted to take a position in gold, or and they had like a 10-year time horizon, and my expectations are gold is going to be significantly higher than it is now. If you ask me, forget January 2026, which is going to have a greater appreciation over the next 10 years, Bitcoin or gold. Where even if gold's trading at 13,000-15,000, I'm gonna say Bitcoin, and it's gonna be very, very, very apparent of the difference of appreciation. I believe that strongly. I still believe that gold is going to continue its massive, massive repricing, and with like, if your time horizon was that far, is this a good place to buy gold? I would say absolutely. If you were trading gold, which if you're trading gold futures, which are highly levered, is this a good place to take a position? Likely not. I would expect, and I'm sure people have been expecting a pullback from gold. I thought the pullback, like, I didn't think this was going to break out. Once it broke out, a simple line changes everything, and it's very easy. And then the straight vertical rise was also very unexpected out of that. Like, we had already gone vertical. This amazing consolidation led to another vertical rise. And again, if you don't own gold and you would like to have a an allocation to gold, and you're doing it, unlevered, physical gold, do I think that this is a good time? Do I think gold's going to be higher, you know, next year, 3 years from now, and 10 years? Yes, I do. Um, anyway, so if could gold continue defying gravity though? And like, there's no doubt about it. Ever since March, it's been trading above on the monthly an 80 RSI since March, and it still continues to do so. It has never happened before. It's the longest. We talk about how every once in a while overbought and oversold can remain so for so long. If we're seeing an actual, there's many things in motion that one could believe that it will continue. Again, most people, I think, even the most bullish gold enthusiasts, they were not just myself. I was looking for, like, move closer to 3,000. I thought that would have been a good place to take a position, right? That didn't happen. I think even the most bullish people on gold were also expecting something similar. At this point in time, I feel like everyone's waiting for it. It's not happening. Do you pull, like, is this like the sailor playbook? Are you just buying the local tops? You know, Oof, deep power. I would go out to say I would be extremely surprised if we didn't see uh X amount of time into the future gold trading at $13,000. What's X amount of time? I don't know. Do I foresee that in the next few years? I don't foresee that in the next few years. If we do, we have, like, monetary reset has accelerated, and into the end of the decade is when we were talking about monetary resets happening in real time. I think right now it's become abundantly apparent to a lot of people what is taking place here. Do I see a place in the future where central banks begin buying Bitcoin as they are gold? I don't know. I mean, the BRICS are very seemingly taking a strong position towards gold. There's a lot of trust concerns there. These guys do not trust each other, of course. 5K soonish, I mean, into 2026, is that possible? Or are we going to see a bit of are we going to see that recession? Are we going to see that a deflationary bust? If that's happening, then gold is probably coming out of that, because that means that if that's happening, liquidity is going to need to be abundant. Um, Gold, Bitcoin. The only way I could see central banks beginning to bid into Bitcoin sooner than later would be if something wild happened, would be if there was an adoption event kicked off by the United States and the United States were to, one way or another, like want to really Bitcoin boom. And if that were happening at that point in time, that would force other countries to have to also get on board. Outside of that, I don't see it. I could foresee a future where energy is traded in Bitcoin a lot sooner. That, the settlement time on Bitcoin is bar none, and that is everything. I could foresee that happening. Bitcoin's adoption continues to accelerate, and yeah, does that mean that if the U.S. were to somehow embrace Bitcoin? I mean, the U.S. has embraced gold tremendously, the highest the highest ownership of gold in the world, and that was not the death of the dollar, right? What if Bitcoin's price is it to appreciate, logically, that I believe that means that the whole stablecoin market is going to massively appreciate as well, not in dollar in terms of usage, and that right there is going to entrench the US Treasury market. That's going to help the dollar stay around for a lot longer. So I don't think it would be the death of the dollar. And that's where I got confused, where Russia is like, the US is looking to use cryptocurrency and gold. And I'm still uncertain how gold plays a role into that, especially when, obviously, China, Russia, they've all have basically embraced gold. So I'm not sure. I don't think it would be the death of the dollar. I think that a higher Bitcoin price leads to a higher usage of stable coins, leads to we talk about that passive bid into US equities. It becomes a passive bid into the US treasuries. And that right there is going to help the US government keep the music playing a lot longer. Well, at the same time, I mean, I think, I believe, and it's indisputable, like gold has been suppressed for a long time. Gold has been massively manipulated for a long time. I don't really think that. I think what we're just seeing is a repricing, an appropriate repricing. I don't think that, like, it's anything crazy that's taken place. And you know I mean, I would argue that gold is a lot more appropriate priced today than it has been at any other point um, since I can remember. I remember gold breaking above 300 in 2003, and I had no perspective and understanding what the ramifications would be going forward. There was so much in that period, including the IPO of Google at the time, the IPO of Meta. Like, forget buying things on Amazon, should just been buying Amazon stock. I think that that is not much different from the opportunity today. People talk about the unfairness of the broken money. You have the opportunity, the knowledge, and the foresight to simply, continue to accumulate, save in Bitcoin. Forget about the price of Bitcoin. Just continue to save in Bitcoin. Do I think personally that? Yeah, well, for me, it's different, with gold. But if at any point in time I get like an opportunity that I tried, I would step in with a levered futures position. But there's no way that's even on my radar right now. And especially silver. Silver is extraordinarily suppressed. I saw a chart that was interesting, and it was looking at, maybe we could try. And I think that represents pretty well, just going to this area of 2010, how suppressed the price of silver might be when comparing it to the S&P 500. This looks like, I think to all of us, you could see this is an extremely bullish bottoming pattern, a rounded saucer. And yeah, just looking at it, quite bullish. Now it's hard to say what the S&P 500 and its makeup is going to be. Obviously, right now, heavily weighted towards tech. I could picture a future not too far off where that weighting is also heavily towards some type of energy, and not only that, potentially even, I mean, quantum computing, I guess, would be tech, but I could see. Uh, anyway. Maybe tomorrow. I feel like we should be talking about Bitcoin. I feel like we should be talking about, but nothing has changed as far as expectations here at CTM. Again, those recession odds you shared were extremely high. It's hard to see with the growth that continues to accelerate with fiscal dominance and now monetary policy coming to align, how they don't have any other choice as far as I can see it, but then to run it hot. Obviously, something that could change. My perspective would be, indeed, if we were to see the spending all of a sudden come to a halt and or slowdown, that would be worrisome. It's not what we see or I see ahead. Anything else that we left on unclear for today that we want to touch on? It's not Friday, but it certainly is Taco Tuesday. Let's get it up. Let's get it going over here.
Markets, analyzing the charts, hitting projected targets within the margin. Find the flow, sip the matcha, and wait for the waves to come in with lobsters. The kind-hearted Jordan Fosters, working smarter, not harder to move the markers. On his way to conquer, trading and investing, drinking the coffee while reflecting on the blessing. The markets are not crashing, the prices might be slashing just to pretend they're in fashion. See the like button, comments, and smash it. Boom, boom, Jordan in the room. Grab the bull by the horns and through the moon. Flow from the plateau, make the play. Boom, boom, it's a taco day.
Man, I'm so reminded by the meme, the markets are not crashing. Meme, for those that were here. How, like, guys, we started in late 2019, and like, if you go to any of the doomer channels, which like all macro, not all macro, the like a extremely high unproportional of macro channels lean towards doom, and they have this whole 6 years we've been together, and every single asset price you look at is significantly higher. Oh, what's going on? Let's move over to Ethereum, then we'll look at BMNR and looking for where. So Ethereum putting in, by the way, a pretty important retest. And much like Ethereum, and much like Bitcoin, holding that horizontal support, it's a pretty similar level here for Ethereum. Both of them need to hold it. If they don't, then yeah, we're probably likely coming in for what would be an October correction. I know that people look at October as Uptober and a very favorable time of the year and month. I lean towards, through the end of October, a lot more cautious. If we get the breakout on Bitcoin that we looked from that just simple trend line, then the odds are that we have a good chance to test and or push new all-time highs. If that's happening, do I think Ethereum is going with it? Definitely do. I mean, what has Tom Lee done? A major 10x out of nowhere. Since then, it's been consolidating. I mean, is that something to watch? If you saw Ethereum breaking down from that area we just spoke of, then you could see obviously here a bear flag and a breakdown as well. Would that likely take take that low or come test it? It seems to me that might be did is Tom Lee out raising money still? Does he have any plan? I don't follow. I'm not sure what his plans are. I know that he's got I'm trying to think of PayPal Mafia or Peter Thiel behind him, and I think these guys have a plan, and I don't think that they're stopping. Would that be an opportunity? You know, um, I don't know. I would be more interested to find out, like, you know, how much they plan on raising in the next 3 months, in the next 12 months, and what are the odds they're going to be able to raise what they want. It's so popular, and that's why we have the markets are not crashing to protect people from that natural. Like, guys, forget the bears in the back; those could hopefully be gone soon. Uh, you know, if you see me turn bearish, that's usually a sign that we're going to be into a bear market. You know. Thanks, Robert, for all of you contributing to that and making that. Um, right. I mean, I feel like calls might be better, but that's fine. Doom sells, and there's a lot of reason. It all makes sense, but that's it's a lot harder to be on the right side, to be forward thinking, and not to be with the herd. And that's what separates here the doomers from the I don't even know what word to compliment. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. And the best part about it all, it doesn't even matter what you think. It only matters what's happening. Trading momentum across the board here is the way to go. Everyone, people drastically underestimate what they could do in 2 years. People underestimate what they could accomplish in 2 years and drastically underestimate what they could accomplish in 10. There's not one person here who 10 years from now is going to look back and saying, you know, if I would have executed on the moat, I would have achieved everything and more. And then there are those that, you got to get there. Everyone, we're here to help. Lots of love. God bless you. See you all tomorrow. With or without the U.S. government running, we'll be here.